A scent, a song, a familiar street. Small things can carry us back to the past, to moments that never truly faded. Words left unspoken, stories left unfinished, memories that still echo. If I could say one more thing, is a place for those echoes, a place where memories find their voice, and what lingers in the heart is finally set free. Some memories aren't just something we recall. There's something we feel, something that lingers long after the moment has passed. In this episode, you'll hear a story written for someone who wanted, just for a little while, to step back into a time when his brother was still here. It's about music, loss, and those unexpected moments when the past brushes up against the present. This is The Song That Still Plays, a story about love, laughter, and the echoes we carry with us. Jacob wasn't looking for trouble when the song came on. He was looking for pickles. Dill, specifically, though at this point he would have taken bread and butter, which were an insult to the concept of pickles, but apparently the only variety available in this god-forsaken grocery store. And then, there it was, that song. The opening chords strummed their way out of the store's tinny speakers, slicing through the hum of shopping carts and fluorescent lights with surgical precision. He froze, pickle jar in hand, as if it contained the wisdom to get him out of this moment unscathed. He hadn't heard that song in ages, not since that night with Aaron. God, Aaron. Jacob exhaled, bracing himself against the inescapability of memory. The night in question had been standard issue nonsense. Aaron's idea, of course. A midnight drive for burgers neither of them needed, but would both inhale as if starvation was a real and present danger. Jacob had protested, as was tradition, but relented the second Aaron dangled the keys, like a carrot in front of a particularly grumpy horse. They had been driving for 20 minutes when the song came on. It had been their song, in the way songs belong to people who don't ask for them but find themselves tethered regardless. It was overplayed, objectively bad, and yet, the second it started, both of them groaned in mock suffering before screaming the lyrics into the night like two deranged wolves harmonizing over a kill. Looking back, Jacob wished he had said something meaningful, something brotherly and profound. Instead, he had thrown a wadded-up burger wrapper at Aaron's head and declared his driving a war crime. Aaron had responded by swerving slightly, just enough to send Jacob clutching at the door handle with a string of swear words that would make a sailor reconsider his choices. "You're a menace," Jacob had muttered. "You love me," Aaron had replied, smug as ever. And that was that. No heartfelt declarations, no significant moments, just grease-stained upholstery and an unspoken understanding that they would have a lifetime of dumb nights like that. Except they didn't. Aaron died 6 months later in what Jacob's mother still called the accident, as if putting it in air quotes would soften the reality of it. It was a car crash, stupid and senseless, involving a patch of black ice an SUV, and a night that should have ended with bad karaoke and greasy takeout, not funeral arrangements and condolences from people who barely knew him. Jacob hadn't driven at night for months after. He couldn't bring himself to sit in the driver's seat without feeling the weight of Aaron's absence pressing down on him like a poorly placed seatbelt, tight across his chest, making it hard to breathe. And that damn song. He couldn't escape it. It lurked in commercials, in passing cars, in coffee shop playlists where he least expected it. Every time it played, he would hear Aaron's voice in his head, clear as day, laughing, calling him an idiot, telling him to lighten up. But how do you lighten up when half of your history is gone? The song hit its chorus, pulling Jacob out of the memory and back into the grocery store, where he was still gripping the pickle jar like it was the last thing tethering him to reality. He could leave. He could abandon his grocery list and walk out before the second verse landed its punch. But he didn't. He stood there, letting the song play, letting himself remember, letting himself think about what he would say if he had one more conversation with Aaron. Jacob stared at the jar of pickles, lost in the weight of the moment, when a voice behind him drawled, "Bread and butter pickles? A bold choice. Still pretending you have taste?" Jacob yelped, nearly dropping the jar, because either he had completely lost his mind, or Aaron, his very dead brother, very uninvited brother, was standing behind him, smirking like this was the most normal thing in the world. Jacob spun around, half expecting a grocery store employee, or, at the very least, some pickle enthusiast with an unfortunate sense of humor. But no, it was Aaron. Same old Aaron, wearing that cocky grin and a hoodie Jacob distinctively remembered donating to Goodwill a month ago. "This is it," Jacob muttered, rubbing his temples. "This is the moment I officially lose my sanity in the condiment aisle." "Please, you lost your sanity ages ago," Aaron said, leaning casually against the shelf. "I'm just here for moral support, and to remind you that bread and butter pickles are an abomination." Jacob let out a shaky laugh. Is this ghost, hallucination, subconscious manifestation? Dealer's choice. Aaron shrugged. "But if it helps, I think this grocery store is haunted." Jacob exhaled, heart pounding. "So why are you here?" Aaron tilted his head, considering. "I don't know, Jay. Maybe because you never got to say what you wanted. Maybe because you still let dumb things like this song kick your ass when you could just let yourself remember without guilt." Jacob swallowed hard, the words catching in his throat. I wanted to say thank you for everything, for making me laugh when I didn't want to, for dragging me into your chaos when I was too serious, for making life less predictable and more ridiculous, for just being you. I never told you that enough, and now..." He exhaled sharply, shaking his head. "Now I don't get to. Except like this, in the middle of a grocery store, talking to my possibly imaginary dead brother. Typical." He hesitated, shifting his grip on his pickle jar. And, God, this is stupid, but I miss you, Aaron. I miss you so much. And I love you. You know that, right? You knew that. I mean, I assume you did, but I should have said it more. I should have made sure. Aaron's smug expression softened into something quieter, something real. I knew. Of course I knew. And I love you too, you idiot. Aaron smiled. A real smile, not his usual smirk. Before Jacob could say anything else, a hand tapped his shoulder. Sir, are you okay? He turned to see a concerned-looking woman, and when he looked back, Aaron was gone. Just the hum of the store, the song still playing, and the ghost of his brother's voice lingering in his mind. Jacob put the pickles in his cart and headed for the checkout, the song still playing overhead. And for the first time in a very long time, he didn't feel the urge to turn it off. And that was The Song That Still Plays. But the story doesn't end there. After writing it, I had the chance to sit down with the person who inspired it. Someone who wanted to reconnect with a part of his past to bring back the voice of someone he lost. For privacy reasons, names have been changed, but the emotions, the memories, and the impact, those are very real. Here's our conversation. Jacob, when you asked me to write this story, what were you hoping to get out of it?
I wasn't sure, honestly. I just knew needed to feel like Aaron was here again, even for a moment, not just in my head, but in a way that made sense outside of my memories. I thought maybe if someone else wrote it, if his voice existed somewhere other than my own thoughts, it would feel more real, like proof that he was here, that he mattered.
Now that you've heard it, did it bring any sense of closure or comfort?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if closure is the right word because I don't think you ever really closed the door on losing someone like that. But it gave me something I didn't realize I needed, permission to remember without feeling like I had to brace for impact every time. And it made me laugh, which is exactly what Aaron would have wanted.
The moment in the grocery store where you see Aaron, did that feel true to how you experience his presence?
Yeah, that was what hit me the hardest, actually. Grief doesn't show up in the big dramatic moments. It's in the small, ridiculous ones. And Aaron, he'd absolutely haunt a grocery store just to mess with me. That scene made it feel like he was right there, being a smartass, making sure I didn't take life too seriously. It was weirdly perfect.
You finally got to say what you never had the chance to when he was alive. How did that feel like when you listened to it?
It was hard. I didn't expect that. I thought I'd feel relief, but it just made me wish even more that I could have said it to him in real life. At the same time, though, it helped. Seeing the words, letting them exist somewhere outside of my own regrets. It made it feel like maybe in some way he heard them.
Did this story change anything for you about how you remember Aaron or how you handled your grief?
It made me realize I don't have to avoid the memories just because they hurt. That I can still laugh at the dumb stuff, still hear his voice in my head, and that's okay. It doesn't mean I'm stuck, and it doesn't mean I'm letting go either. It just means he's still part of me, and I think that's what I really needed to understand.
And of course, if Aaron were here to hear this story, what do you think he'd say?
You made me sound awesome. And then he'd give me crap for getting too sentimental. But deep down, I think he'd love it. I think he'd love that he's still here in some way. And that means everything to me.
Some goodbyes feel unfinished, leaving us with questions we'll never get to ask and words we wish we had said. But sometimes, through memories, music, and the stories we share, we find a way to keep the conversation going, if only in our hearts. If this story resonated with you, I invite you to follow If I Could Only Say One More Thing. And if you have a story of your own, something left unsaid, a moment that still lingers, I would be honored to help bring it to life. You can send your requests to SayOneMoreThingPod@gmail.com. I'm Andrea Applewick, and this is If I Could Say One More Thing.